The environment that I was in wasn't necessarily the safest. I'll say that much. Not judge yourself, because a lot of times things that happen to us early on in life, we tend to judge ourselves, and that brings more pain within, and we bring that to other people's lives. A lot of people have this assumption that all homeless people don't have any kind of skills, they're drunks, they're alcoholics, but sometimes you can't always plan for the situation that life will put you in. So I seeked a lot of validation growing up from
Wow.
people who didn't even have my best interests at heart.
What's up, YouTube? Top Flight USA back with another one. How you doing?
I'm good. It's a pleasure to see you today.
It's a pleasure to see you as well. All right. What's your name, age, and where you from?
So my name is Dejour Loggins. My name is Dejour Loggins. I'm from Mississippi and I'm 25.
25 years old from Mississippi. Okay. Shout out Mississippi. Are you homeless?
Yes, at the current moment.
Okay.
Current moment.
So, how long have you been homeless?
Uh, Not long, for about 8 months approximately, late December of last year.
Okay.
So,
8 months ago. What exactly caused you to be homeless?
well, it was a lot of different situations, but the main situation was that where I was located, it wasn't necessarily the best environment um, for my overall well-being. So I had to get away from it by
Okay.
any means necessary. You know, a lot of people, the first thing that comes to their mind is, well, I don't necessarily know where I'm gonna go, so I won't jump as fast. You know, but sometimes it's for your greater good. So that's what I did, and I've learned to manage along the way for the most part.
Okay. Uh, what exactly happened that made you make that decision?
Um, the environment that I was in wasn't necessarily the safest. I'll say that much. And even though I stayed to myself for the most part, there was a lot of people that were surrounding me that didn't necessarily have my best interests. So what I did was I said, okay, well, I'll just try to build elsewhere. I'll try to go from the ground up elsewhere. Even though I was basically raised in this town, I'm familiar with High Point too, just 15 minutes away. So I was there, and once that situation, a certain situation took place, I decided that I was going to come here and try to build from here.
Okay. Let's tap into your childhood a little bit. Did you grow up in a two-parent household?
Yes, I did. I grew up in a two-parent household, but the father was a stepfather. The father was a stepfather, and one thing I would truly say is that we don't give stepfathers enough credit for the strength that it takes to raise a child that's not theirs and hold it down for over 20 years. Now, my stepfather, he had a drug addiction. He had drinking and drug addiction problems, but having me and a few other siblings around, it caused him to leave it alone and ground himself close to, well, at least until I was old enough to make sense of the world for myself before the drug addiction eventually took him back over, and he's still battling with it to this day. But
Wow.
nevertheless, the two-parent household that I was in, it was very chaotic. It was arguments every day, you know, stuff being thrown by the parents and whatnot. But at the end of the day, one thing that I always tried to tell myself was, you are not your situation. Situation is separate from who you are. And so it really helped me to keep my mind intact growing up. And I also loved a lot of animated things like cartoons. I love music. I've been in music for most of my life.
Okay.
Play instruments, multiple. So it was a lot of things that kept me occupied. On top of the fact that I was, for the most part, in the hood, which a lot of people in our community are. You know, I
Yes.
was in the hood for most of my growing up period, and as a result, me being in certain activities such as music and band and things of that nature, it kept me away from an environment that could have consumed me as a whole.
Okay. Uh, you kind of went in a little bit on my next question. Do you have any siblings?
From my understanding, I have two, and I
Okay.
was the oldest. Um, yeah,
Okay. So you was the oldest out of three altogether.
yeah.
Okay. Um, you kind of went in a little bit on this question, but I'm just gonna ask anyway. Do you say you had a fairly normal childhood?
Yes, in the sense of it. It's weird because it was half and half with it. It was normal, but it wasn't at the same time. Like uh, me enjoying life for what it was as a kid. Going outside. Being able to have a social life through school to a certain degree. Yes, that was normal. But the things that I had to endure at home once I got home, that wasn't necessarily normal, or at least what every child around my age had to deal with when they got home. A lot of kids, they go home, they watch TV for a little while, which I did that too, but then their parents, um, you know, fix them a nice dinner, and then they parents reading them a bedtime story, and they go to sleep or whatnot. Because of the chaos that was in my household growing up, I came home to arguments.
Wow.
I came home to you know irons being thrown, and
Wow.
if we had our days where it was normal, but it was to the point to where we knew at some point, if not today, the day after, it was coming back all over again. So there was no such thing as peace in the
Wow.
household that I grew up in. But childhood activities, to a certain degree, yes, that was normal.
So what do you think that did to you mentally?
Um, Mentally, it pushed me into a space to where I look for the unordinary things, to bring me joy throughout my day, throughout my daily life. I looked for validation from other people because growing up, I didn't necessarily have much, and seeing people around you have much more, or at least what society would consider you having more than what you had at that time, it made me think less of myself. So I seeked a lot of validation growing up from
Wow.
people who didn't even have my best interests at heart.
Okay.
So yeah, that's just one aspect of it.
Okay. Um, what is your highest grade level?
Well, I graduated high school and I was actually in college for a full school year. I went to G-Tech,
Okay.
which people like to shun community colleges and people like to look down on them because they don't have majors like lawyers and nursing programs, which some community colleges do. But I was in the trade program when I was in Guilford Tech. I went for welding technology,
Okay.
and I really enjoyed that program. And it really gave me a trade that I could at any given time use. See, and that's another thing. A lot of people have this assumption that all homeless people don't have any kind of skills. They're drunks, they're alcoholics, but sometimes you can't always plan for the situation that life will put you in. And that was my situation. It's not that I don't have skills, it's just that life had other plans,
That's right.
you know.
I'm gonna ask a tough question here. If you can answer it, answer it. If not, it's okay. Did anything ever happen to you sexually growing up?
Now, that is one thing that I will always be grateful to say that that never happened to me. From my understanding, I know when it happens to children, it can be so traumatic to where they push it to the back of their brains and they can forget about it. But for me, I don't ever recall that ever happening.
Okay. Uh, what about physically?
Now physically, the stepmother, well, the mother that I know to be, she had a lot of days where she put on this persona of happy go lucky and giddy or whatnot, but it was certain times where she would get angry and the beatings would be a lot more extreme than what most children would have to go through. I don't know if you've ever seen the Precious movie.
Yes.
That's the type of mother figure that I had growing up.
Wow.
And it was severe. I mean, it was times where I'll give you an example. Like growing up, I used to lose a lot of things. I had this thing where I couldn't keep up with stuff that was given to me or bought for me. And growing up in the hood where your parents tend to struggle to get certain things for you, I understand. But I lost a thermal shirt in eighth grade. And you know those Family Dollar brooms that have the it has like a metal stick build, but it's real. It's the light metal build. Yeah, I lost that. She lost it. You know, she lost it up there for a little bit. She grabbed that and she broke it over my eye, and I
Wow.
had a black eye or whatnot. And I went to school the next day, and the teachers asked me, "Did somebody beat you up?" And you know, growing up in our households, you know, it's like what happens in the house stay in the house. You don't take that
Yeah.
to the teachers, even though that's an unhealthy thing. Now it didn't happen all the time, but when it did happen, it was very extreme. And so it was moments like that that kind of etched itself into the back of my mind.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Kids, a lot of people have it worse than me. Some had it better, but these are just my experiences.
Right.
You know, I had both sides of the coin.
Right. Sorry you had to go through that growing up. Um, have you you say you went to school and they asked about it, but have you told anybody else about these situations that you went through?
Truth be told, no, because like I said, they didn't happen often, but they were extreme when they did. So it really didn't happen as much as I got into high school going on. High school and on out from there, it didn't happen as much. These were early childhood memories.
Okay.
And I kind of, like I said, to a certain degree, I can understand, you know, your husband, you know, has certain issues. Y'all are battling, having y'all own demons about within yourselves and within y'all trying to maintain a marriage. And then, you know, you have kids who we weren't bad kids. We were level headed for the most part, but there were certain things that were like triggers that you could tell if you were around to see it. There were things that were unhealed in her, but
Wow.
they were extreme. And so as a result, we caught the extreme end of that in the form of beatings, in the form of, you know, extreme disciplinary actions.
Wow.
So,
Have you ever had any counseling?
um, no, truth be told, it got to a point to where I had to learn to be a counselor to myself. And one thing about counseling myself, I had to learn that the first step to that is to not judge yourself, because a lot of times the things that happen to us early on in life we tend to judge ourselves, and that brings more pain within, and we bring that to other people's lives. But one thing that I had to learn was that before you can truly heal yourself, you have to open yourself up to a non-judgmental space to
That's
say,
right.
okay, it's all right, it happened, regardless of how good or bad it may have seemed to be, whether it was your fault or not. What's important is that we need to heal from it.
That's right.
And so, what can we do to heal from this point on so that we can not only stop inflicting that pain on ourselves, but to eventually not take that into somebody else's lives and they don't know where it's coming from. So once I was able to have that mindset, being out here helped me to lose a lot of the traumatic triggers that I had within myself. I've had, to a certain degree, more peace out here than I had growing up, and that's weird
Wow.
to most people, because most people would have it hard being homeless. They don't know where to go from there. They don't know where the peace will come from. But one thing I will say is that I've been able to have certain levels of peace within myself by helping myself to heal out here and being honest with myself. And once I've been able to do that, um, I've been able to be a little bit lighter in my energy, and it's helped me a lot. So yeah.
So would you say you've been healed from your childhood traumas?
Yes, I have. I've been healing that a lot. One major thing that I had to heal out here was the fear of judgment of what other people would think about me. Because growing up, like I said, I didn't have much. And on top of, to a certain degree, being verbally put down at home, I would get to school and I didn't have the best of designer clothes. You know, it was times where I had clothes from Family Dollar. I had shoes from, department stores, City Trends and stuff like that. So when you're going home and you're getting verbally put down, which, like I said, wasn't all the time, but then you go to school and it's even worse because of what you don't have. It's a rough situation. And so it got to a point to where I had to find a certain level of balance within it all, and it was pretty rough. Oh, I'd have forgot the question.
No, you answered it. You answered it. I asked you, have you been healed from your
Oh yeah.
childhood
So
traumas?
basically, as a result of that level of childhood trauma, where people making you feel like you're less than because of what you don't have, we fail to realize that these traumas carry over into our adulthood. Our bodies grow, but these traumas stay in our nervous system. They stay stuck in certain aspects of our brain. And me being out here to where I had nobody, I wouldn't necessarily say judging me, but really caring, because people walk past the homeless anyway. So I didn't have anybody really paying me enough attention. So that was free time for me to say, okay, well, I can heal this because I'm out here. I'm not looking for validation from anybody else. I'm just looking to make it from day to day. Sometimes survival mode can put you in a place to where, validation is not your main priority, especially when you're an adult and you have to really do it on your own to a certain degree.
That's right.
Yes.
Um, have you ever been diagnosed with any mental disorders?
None, absolutely not. And that's one thing I can say I'm grateful for, because the ones that were in the house with me, the siblings that were in the house with me that had to go through what I had to go through, one has bipolar disorder as a result of it. And you can see it when she's triggered off. So one thing that I can say I'm privileged to have is my mind intact. And aside from just childhood, it's a lot of people out in the world that are not homeless, that have a home, that have family to go to. And these people suffer from mental, diagnosis uh, aspects. And people say, you know what, you have everything that everybody really want. Why are you mentally gone? But it's different things that can influence that on a day-to-day basis and all throughout our life. So, a lot of people out here that are homeless, they've lost their minds. They've been out here so long, they don't have a sense of hope or a sense of guidance of where they can go next or what can get them to the next step. So with me being out here with my mind intact, it's a privilege, because if my mind's intact, everything else will eventually fall into place if I don't rush.
That's right. Would you say it's dangerous living homeless?
It can be. One thing I will say about the homeless community is that um, if you stay out the way, you have a better chance of people not messing with you on a day-to-day basis. You have people who will try to bring trouble to you, when even ones that you don't know. You'll have some that try to bring trouble to you, but it depends on how you stay out the way. If you don't get into the cliques that are out here, because the homeless community, they don't have, a lot of them don't have a sense of guidance, so they go into cliques. And when you get in the cliques, you tend to start to pay attention to stuff that don't really matter in the grand scheme of life. So it can be dangerous if you allow yourself to get caught up in certain groups out here that don't have your best interests at heart or their own best interests at heart.
That's
But
right.
me, fortunately, I stay out of the way so I don't get involved in cliques that don't serve my best interests. And that's what's been able to keep me mentally intact um, going throughout my day-to-day basis out here. A lot of times when people see me, they'll see me by myself, and that's not a bad thing because I know it's a lot of people out here I don't have anything in common with, and that's fine. That's okay. I'm not looking for that level of validation anymore. So it can be, but it depends on what predicament you put yourself in and what you allow people to know about you.
Right.
Because some people don't want to know things about you to upbuild what they think they know about you.
That's
Some
right.
people have ulterior motives. So me staying to myself is the best way to navigate in this community.
Okay. Um, how do you make your money out here being homeless?
Um, I'll be completely honest with you. I didn't come out here like you do have a lot of homeless people out here. I'll be honest. They panhandle. They'll go on a certain street corner and they'll panhandle, or um, you know, however else they do it. It's many, it's a few different ways, but me, I didn't necessarily come out here with the mindset of, oh, when I get out here, I'm looking to make money off the streets. That wasn't my mindset. I came out here from a sense of self guidance to a certain degree. Me trying to see, okay, where can I go from here? How can things, not to say better self in the sense of how can I just expect things to fall in my lap out here, but it was a lot of things I had to heal first. And it took me being out here to heal it. A lot of people have to go through different things to heal certain parts of themselves. And for me, it took me being out here to heal um, certain things that I wouldn't face in the mirror. So I didn't come out here looking to make money because I have skills. I used to work with the school system. I was a professional cleaner contracted under certain companies. I know how to strip and wax floors. I work for security companies. So I do have certain skills, but I came out here to heal. And that's another thing. Every homeless person out here is not out here because they're drunk or a drug addict or, certain molestation issues, which that's common, but that's not everybody's story out here. Some people out here have to let go of society in order for their mind to be intact so that when we come back in, we can come back in better than we were before.
That's right. Um, I see that you're dressed slightly different.
What?
What are your pronouns?
Uh, I do consider myself a he.
Okay.
I consider myself a he. It's just that, um, and that's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up because the way that I obtain clothes out here, there's a certain group that comes by and they have bins of clothes that have shirts and pants and whatnot in there. And especially before I got out here, I was never the type to wear other people's clothes. That's just not something I had to endure growing up, regardless of my situation. But um, there are people that come by with clothes, and I pick the clothes that fit because a lot of them don't fit me. It's a lot of them that a lot of clothes in there that are for bigger people. But I try to find the ones that fit, but at the same time help me to not look like my situation.
That's right.
And so it may be a little different,
Hmm.
but it helps me to not look like my situation and the things that I pick out for myself. And I understand that, everybody can't pull off the same thing. You know what I'm saying? I get
Yeah.
that for real, but
Yeah.
when I pick these clothes out, my mindset is, how can I not look like my situation? Be clean by having clothes so that when I get out the shower, I can put on other clothes and to a certain degree blend in, regardless of me knowing my situation. You know,
Okay. Why do you think there's so many people out here homeless?
like I said before, homelessness doesn't come from one variable factor. We all come from different lives, different cultures, different aspects of life. We all come from different traumas. Some people out here had parental problems as a child. Some people have been touched on and they never recovered from that mentally. So they can't, what we would consider to be a bad situation, they consider is, hey, It's just me being another day on this earth. It's just, regardless if it's just me wandering or me doing a certain type of drug, it's just another day of me being out here, because what other people consider to be important or valuable, certain traumas can cause that same thing to not be important to the next person. So, yes, it is certain drugs. Sometimes it's because a person couldn't pay their rent on time because the boss shorted them on hours, you know. And especially in this, and that's another thing, in this economy today, you have a lot less people that are clowning the homeless, because the way the economy is set up, a lot of people starting to see, hold on,
Yeah.
not that many paychecks away from being out here
That's
for real.
right.
So a lot of people's perception on homelessness is starting to change. There was a time where a lot of people ride past the homeless and laugh at them, call them failures and losers. I've seen it. My mother growing up, she used to ride past the homeless and say they need to get a job. They out here, they ain't got no plan. They just begging for my money. But a lot of people nowadays are starting to understand that you're not that many paychecks away from being out here the way you think.
That's right.
So it's really caused this economy, not to say that's a good thing that, everything is starting to crumble, but at the same time it is, because it's humbled a lot of people's approach on homelessness.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people still have yet to have a different perspective on it. Sometimes it takes you being out here to see why many different people are out here. And that's the way it was for me. I was never the type to judge the homeless. I was the type to pull money out my pocket and give to them. But when I was out here, I got different perspectives on why people were out here. Now, everybody, of course, everybody out here doesn't have pure intentions as to why they're out here, but that's just life itself. Just like you have people that have pure intentions, you have people that don't, and that's just the opposites. But at the end of the day, I think homelessness has a lot of different factors to it. Me, it's just a matter of me not being held to a certain standard of my healing level. Because it's hard to heal when you're moving day to day. You have to put these things on the back burner. There's nothing wrong with the 9 to 5, but a 9 to 5 can make you forget about the things that you need to work on a day to day basis. You know, and so I'm not saying I left my job to come out here, because things did happen with that. But me being out here, I know that when I come back into society, I'll take off. I'll be better than I was before.
Okay.
So
Um, do you have any drug addictions?
I do not, and once again, I'm privileged for that. I'm privileged for that, and it's around here a lot. It is around here a lot more than most people would think. Uh, it tends to be hidden, and then sometimes it's not hidden. It just depends on where you are and if you just so happen to see it. But I try to keep myself away from those addictions. You know, I understand that it's really a coping mechanism, but me helping to self counsel myself helps me to eliminate needing that. So I'm grateful to not have that in my life.
Okay. Um, if you could tell the government something about homelessness,
uh,
what would you say?
um, well, what I would say about that, and oh man, that's a pretty good question. What I would say about that is that people's situations always change. Some people out here for different reasons, but regardless, I feel like, yes, everyone deserves the right, a natural right to having a place to stay at night, even if it's not the nicest environment, you know. And I see that they hide that behind housing authority, because I grew up in that. So they say, look, we got housing authority right here. Can't say we don't provide you with housing. But there are a lot of stipulations even within housing authority. It's a lot of traps in that too. Because I remember when I was about to leave the neighborhood I stayed in. Are you familiar with Greensboro?
Yes.
I grew up in Claremont.
Okay.
So at the time, I mean, the job that I had was paying well, and it was me and the lady I called my mother. Me and her was paying the bills, and it got to the point to where they was gonna charge us $1,000 to stay there. I'm like, who
Wow.
finna pay $1,000 to stay in the hood?
Right.
So right when we were about to leave, they started piling all these extra fees on, and so we ended up leaving. But one thing that I will say is that one thing that I overall tell the government about homelessness is that, um, man, that's a good question. I'll just leave it like this: everyone deserves a place to have the necessities. Um, one thing, one thing that I've also taken it, that I've also been able to see out here is that people have a misconception of what luxuries really are. A mansion is really just a luxurized version of the basics: a shower, a bed to sleep in. But it takes being out here to see that just having somewhere to shower and not have to wait 3 hours or even the next day to shower is a luxury in itself. It took me being out here to see that. The fact that you can go and put on clothes and leave out the house and not think about if you ain't gonna have no more clothes, or if the person coming through with clothes is gonna be there that day, and if they don't, you can't shower because you don't have no clean clothes. So, I mean, hey, that's you. Then you know what I'm saying. But me, no, man. But at the end of the day, it goes like this. At the end of the day, it goes like this. Luxuries are based on perception. I think the smallest things are luxuries. You can always build on that, but the basics are luxuries. Having a bed to sleep on. When you've been sleeping on concrete for 8 months, it makes you realize it don't matter if it's a Tempur-Pedic or a side store mattress store.
That's right.
The goal is you trying to be comfortable to go to sleep. And then having a roof over your head when it's raining outside, and a lot of the overpasses out here that don't have rain coverings. And this is one city that will run you off. I will be honest, this is one city that will run you off from places that have shields from rain. So when it's raining outside and you have to walk in the rain just to find somewhere else, like an overpass to go under to get some decent sleep, it'll help you to understand that just having a roof over your head is a luxury. So luxuries vary from person to person. It all depends on what situation you in and how you see it.
Okay. And my last question, we're gonna get ready to wrap this up.
Oh,
If your family happens to come across this video, what do you think their thoughts would be?
um, their honest thoughts might be that they never thought I'd be here. They never thought I'd be in this situation, but neither did I, and it's okay. Um, I had a situation where I was offered to come back, but the environment was toxic. And I'll be honest, I haven't lived like on my own before. I've always had to be the one to hold down the house when stepdad left. I had to be the one to get a job and hold down my siblings and the lady I called my mom. So at the end of the day, I was offered to come back, but I just, at this point, I'd much rather get myself together out here and then go back into society, which I know is going to happen. I'm not one of those homeless people that don't see hope, that don't see something good coming out of this. I know that there's something bright on this other side for me.
Okay. And one more question. Uh, how are we gonna get ourselves out of this situation?
That's a wonderful question. For me, certain things, uh, from what I've been looking into, could line up for me. I'll say that I've seen a lot of different opportunities line itself up for me to where I could go from here. And when that opportunity presents itself, I'm more than willing to hop on board.
Okay. So it sounds like you kind of know what you want to do,
Yes.
and you're just waiting to do it.
Yes.
Okay. All right, I appreciate the interview, man.
No problem. It was a pleasure to see you.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna leave you my number so we can stay in contact. Do you have a cash out or a way for somebody to get in touch with you if somebody wanted to help you out?
Um, so the Cash App is dollar sign capital DAJOUR. The only thing that's capital is the D.
Okay.
So DAJOUR and then 2017. Because that's the year I graduated high school, 2017.
Okay.
So DeJour, capital D, DAJOUR, 2017.
Okay. That's your cash out. Do you have any social media sites? Maybe
I
somebody
do.
can contact you at?
I do. It's 9DAJOUR and then another number 9 at the
And where is that on?
Instagram.
On Instagram. Can you say that one more time?
9DAJOUR 9.
Okay. All right, man. Appreciate it.
Oh,
God
no
bless you.
problem. Thank you. I appreciate it.